I'm trying. Give me a second. Oh, right. So we are back on the Blue Collar Society. We have Level 5 with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
And I don't know what episode this is because our illustrious IT guy went to get his food. He'll be back. But
35?
yeah, we is it 35?
I think so.
30?
The
Yeah,
last one I remember
one
was
of those.
33, and I wasn't here for a week, so
Oh, okay. So
I could be wrong though.
how did you guys make out with the storm? I know last time we had to reschedule because of power outages and whatnot.
Well, we did survive. That's the good news.
We're here.
We're here. Yeah, we made it.
We're
We made
here.
it. I'm happy to say we made it.
And so is our house. So
Yeah.
that's two good
Oh
things.
shit, it was that bad?
This was all right. It's been an interesting winter. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you guys. So I know you gave me a brief picture of where you got. So when you bought this, did you buy the land and build a house?
Yeah.
Or was there a house? Oh, you did it from
No,
scratch.
from scratch. Yeah, there was nothing here.
Wow.
that's dope.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what are you guys' background as far as construction? Let's give us a little history on that.
Steph?
Take it away.
Take it away. Okay. So I've been in the trades for about over 20 years because, again, I'm old, right? And I started off as a painter. So I did that for like full time for 10 years, over 10 years, and got into drywall finishing, flooring installations, trim, things like that. So it was like basically all finishing related. And I always wanted to get into more than just finishing because I mean, I enjoyed what I did, but I wanted more, right? So there's no better way to learn than to build your own home from the ground up. So that took a lot of planning, a couple of years of planning, and Steph and I were like newly married. So yeah, we got married, had this crazy idea to build this place, designed it, built it. It's been almost 5 years now. So through that whole process, we really learned pretty much like hands-on all the different trades and really started getting into more carpentry. And through that's kind of what led us into the whole tiling world, right? Because I had this really great idea that tiling was going to be an easy trade. So not so much, yeah, not so much. But yeah, so we kind of got into that, and we've gone full circle, right? Because we've started in the finishing first, then we've gone all the way back to carpentry, and now we're working into tiling, right? So it's.
Mind you, if I can interject,
please do.
As I do. We didn't arrive at tiling because we thought it was an easy trade.
True.
That wasn't the rationale. We expected it to be easier. We love like the technical precision aspect of it and the artistic nature of it.
Right. So you
really quick, Jeremiah, we're not live on IG?
We should be.
We're not showing up. That's why I asked. But either way, you so once you started tiling, you kind of figured out real fast how tiles don't lie.
No, that's a really good way of putting it. They do not lie.
And you could build like an awesome bathroom, right? It could have the best drywall, the best thing. If there's one single tile that's not right, that's the only thing you'll ever see when you walk in there. You're like, yeah, it's in the bottom corner. It's there. It's bothering me.
Of course.
And, yeah.
So, like coming from the finishing trades, there's this like really bad saying that I hate to use, but it's just the truth. When they say, do your best, caulk the rest, right? You can't do that in the tiling world at all.
No.
You can try.
You'll
see it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you said you had a background in finish carpentry?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that kind of plays into tile as well, because I mean, a good finish carpenter, man. I do tile, and I would think, hey, they're kind of close. Well, I guess it's both. I'm just impatient. But if you do finish carpentry, right, you're still working with those tight tolerances.
Well, everything that like all the trades since I first started, I'm basically self-taught in everything, right? So I never had any mentorship or anything like that. I basically learned as much as I could, and then dove into it and just trial by fire, right? So
yeah. So now,
so does the level 5?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just curious as to where the level 5 came from. Did that have something to do with the finishing drywall and painting finishes?
Yeah, it's kind of my my wife really liked that name, and it's kind of just lending a nod back to like, you know, our origins. So that's why we left it that way.
I got a friend of mine who always refers to that final, the way you finish drywall. He's like, it's got to be a level 5 finish, man.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, see, like I wanted to call it stud tile, but Steph wasn't down for that at all. But you know,
Tile.
I do what I can. Right?
Stud
Off
tile.
stud
I
pack.
like that.
No.
Gotta keep it classy.
nice,
Gotta keep it
nice try,
classy.
man. Nice try.
I mean, stud tile. I envision like a Speedo. You know,
Yeah, right. Really? That's where your mind goes first, is a man
straight
in a Speedo,
stud.
right?
Stud.
Says a lot about you,
Don't
Omar.
get hit.
Yeah, I would say, Omar, that's we're letting some things out, huh?
It said stud.
I think a stud pack from YouTube.
You know, that's like a
pack.
stud
I'm
finder.
glad you
and
brought up
use a
YouTube
mirror.
because when you
Right. Yeah. Wow.
when you said process, you reminded me of Jim Thurman. I've watched so much of his YouTube, and he, like, the way he says process always kind of stuck with me.
Oh, okay.
And
Because he's
so-
because he's Canadian.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
enough
I
thing,
watched. Yeah, I watched a lot of his stuff when I first started learning how to do this stuff, and
He's a good guy.
I mean, yeah, he's a pretty smart guy, I would say.
So
Okay.
in the after you guys got married, you got the crazy idea of building your own house. So how many divorces happened in that process until this house was finished?
Okay, so
He answered
yeah,
that correctly.
Yeah.
we're coming up on our
Nothing happened, right?
8th
Mhm.
wedding anniversary, but we say that there's a multiplier, like a 4 times multiplier to our marriage. So we're going on like 20 years because, well, if I do the math correctly, 24, because we work together. So yeah, you gotta, I mean, it works for us. I think.
Right. No, just because you know.
Pineapple.
Not in way.
Pineapple.
Not in way.
And that's it, folks.
We have
Thank
a
you
lot
for
of
coming.
fun together.
We have a lot of
And-
we have a lot of fun together, but I kind of jokingly tell people you want to test a new marriage, build a house together where you live in a trailer for 6 months where you have no water, you have no power, you have no plumbing. It's you know, you think it's going to be a magical, luxurious experience. You're dirty all the time, and it's yeah, it
kind of sounds like back home, but yeah.
That sounds like I think.
But you know what?
living.
At the same time, it's probably like the single-handedly the best experience of my life that I've ever had. The most rewarding one for sure. So
Plus,
Oh, that's good.
we designed like a completely unconventional house. So it's made out of a product called Nexen, which is an ICF, but not the styrofoam kind. They're cemented wood fiber. So there's rebar throughout, and then it's concrete.
yeah, so we built a concrete house on the lake. So it would have to be a really bad storm to blow us over.
So you built a tank. Awesome.
We built a tank. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And did you guys put turrets on it? I mean, come on.
It's
You
coming
went that
soon.
far.
It's coming soon.
You know, a couple canyons aiming towards the driveway in case somebody storms the
Yeah,
cabin.
exactly.
That's awesome. But
How long did
Now-
it take for y'all to build this house?
Well, we got it closed in 6 months because winter was coming. So we had like a fire lit under our asses to get it closed in as quickly as possible. So we managed to do that. And then we've spent the past almost 4.5 years finishing it because, you know, between doing jobs all the time, the last thing we want to do when we get home is more reno work, right?
We're currently showering
Yeah.
in a shower without a glass door on it
Yeah.
or a curtain. There's nothing.
Took us
on it.
20 months to build
Hey,
a shower. And
I did
start
that.
to
I
finish.
did that too. You got to tilt the shower head just right. and
Yeah,
kinda
yeah, yeah.
get
See,
it to ricochet off the wall.
it works.
You got to warm
Yeah, I
the
mean-
tile up a bit so it doesn't cool it off.
It
We've
works.
got the glass door. All the pieces are there. It's sitting there, but the
Oh, you
trade-off is
said-
just a monsoon
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time you want to have a shower, which is fine, I guess.
Yeah. I don't mind. I hear about this glass door like every other day. And now like I think in some part of my brain, like I'm intentionally not wanting to do it just because of that. But yeah.
so yeah, so basically
It's
you're
on your
testing to
honey-do
see
list.
what a doorless shower looks like.
Exactly. Right. Because maybe I can sell this to a client, you know?
It's minimal.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
You can actually
it's
wash
not-
the floors at the same time.
Right.
Mind
See?
you, with the squeegee.
Exactly. It's about being
Yeah,
practical and saving time.
Now, is this the one that you guys like built yourself? Obviously, yeah, the bathroom.
Yeah.
Now, what choices did you guys go with tile for that bathroom?
Nothing overly exciting.
This is another cringe. So, we kind of we've been in the tiling now seriously. We're gonna say for about 6 months. So we're new. So we just recently started leaning away from the off-the-shelf hardware store products. I'm being like totally candid here. So yeah, we hate the tile in that shower.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're
It's
getting
your
from
first
a
shower,
tile
so
distributor, you're gonna see a big increase in like quality. One, two, the sizes. Sometimes you get a size difference, color difference. The quality. Also, two, I've noticed at least when it comes to getting something to ship to the store outside of the tile shop, they get it to you on time. The batch numbers match. Everything's like perfect. And if something's wrong, they handle it. It's not the employee. It's like, it's not my job.
Right.
So, because if you ever work with like Lowe's or Home Depot, that's what you get every time.
And that's pretty much what we've been dealing with for the most part up until this point. So it's nice working with higher end tiles. Like it's such a huge difference, right? So basically, we bought for our shower, we bought off the shelf at Home Depot, finished the shower, and to be completely honest, I would love to rip it out and start it over again. But that's the hard part about designing and building your own house is I've found that we've second guessed ourselves with almost every choice. So we'll overthink it, put it in, and then like I've done our kitchen backsplash 3 different times because I have kind of a design background. I don't know. I'm my own worst enemy, right? And I can't seem to commit. If it's someone else's house, I have no problem. I have no problem making recommendations. I know what to do, but I'm so fussy here. So
see, I had a weekend job where we pretty much built, me and this guy just on the weekends, built a house from the ground up. Well, the mason came in, did the basement, but we put the floor trusses in all the way up to the roof sheathing, and then the roofers came in and put the shingles on. Everything else we did, and of course not the plumbing, the electrical. Every aspect of that house, right? Like you said, you do it, you're like, all right, if I had to do it again, I'd do it differently this way. Or there's a more efficient way to do it. Or like, I didn't like that. I should have did it this way. Once you've already done it and you see the mistake, it's so easy to be like, oh, I should have done it. That's so obvious. I should have done it a different way.
Yeah, I've been told that you have to design and build 3 houses before you really know what you want. So maybe that's just the truth.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it's an ever changing. Yeah, I was gonna say that. It's ever changing, I guess, because like when you first when I did my house, right? I bought a 1960s, and it was literally still in the 1960s. I had a wheel wagon chandelier hanging in my kitchen. Yeah, it was nice, made out of wood too. And so when I did my shower, the wife picked out 4x12 subway. It was like, it's the easiest. We need to get in. Like you said, I only had 2 months left on my lease, so I had to get in this house.
Yeah.
And we finished building it. And as soon as we get in, we're like, yep, that was the wrong choice. So like as soon as you got in there, and they're like, all right. And I'm also like you guys, like eventually I'll do it. But shoemaker's son, you're never gonna want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you get home and like I still have a half bathroom that I'm supposed to turn into a full bathroom. But like you said, you get home and you look at it and you're like, I just don't want to do it. And then the tile choices all over. And now that we have the design aspect of it, you are going to be like, very picky, which is welcome to the tile world.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like my world is blown wide open. So I have a million different things to choose from. Then it's not just the big box stores, right? And yeah.
Like you're talking about, did you say 4x12?
4x12s. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at a 3x6 subway wall that's like that we hate.
Yeah.
3x6s, yeah.
Which is done all the way to the ceiling. Yeah.
To the ceiling.
To the ceiling.
Yeah, so we tell people if you don't know what you want, go with Subway because you never go wrong. It's very neutral.
Yeah, sure.
But at the same token, at least from the installer side, it's like I'm so tired of looking at Subway tile and plank floors.
Yeah.
Like you go in there and they're like, really, Subway tile and wood look floors. I'm like, yeah, original. Great cabinets, great paint. Okay, shake it. All right, go.
And the 10% overcharge because you have to. So I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if somebody's ever told you or you noticed it. We found out the actual terminology through Sal de Blasi that subway tile will smile in the middle.
Mhm.
So every 2 to 3 rows, you actually have to shim them just a hairline. Otherwise, when you get to the top, there's an actual smile in the tiles. And it's annoying because every 3 rows, you have to stop, get a level, get the tiny shims, shim them up.
Yeah.
Next 3 rows, shim them up. So I don't know if you ever noticed that.
No, I didn't
Subway,
know.
for some reason, Subway does it. No matter what Subway I've used, unless I'm not buying the most high-end Subway, but it's always done that.
I mean, you got to
Interesting.
keep in mind, they aren't rectified. You're usually just butting
Yeah.
the tile together to make the grout joint. If a little bit of thin set gets in there, it builds it up and it just kind of compounds as it goes. I mean, if you're slightly off on a row on subway tile, like every other row, it's going to compound way faster than like a 12 by 24. So, and thin set, the thin set, maybe a 16th or 32nd, right? But if it's doing that, every other row, you're going to be higher in the corners, higher in the center. I mean, it's just a matter of checking every couple of rows.
Maybe that explains some of the nightmares I had with this backsplash and the one downstairs, because I couldn't figure it out.
Mhm.
Like when I did this a year ago downstairs, same thing, 3x6. Couldn't
Oof,
figure
that
out why
shit
it was
drives me.
constantly going off.
That's what it is. It's weird. You'll see it next time you mess with them. Put a level on it, and you'll notice it's just ever so slightly. But like you said, on an 8-foot wall, that's going to compound
Yeah,
to
yeah,
an
absolutely.
8 by the time you get to the top.
And
So
you'll
he
have to
said
cheat it.
Yeah,
You'll
you're
have-
going to cheat it.
Mhm.
Put little wedges in there. When you get to the corners, you got the corner bead. The corners are floated out, so they're going to not be square and true. So the center, depending on your drywall, right? Like I'm pretty bad at drywall. If I try to do it myself, I'm going to build that inside corner in a lot. So like the actual corners where it goes to the wall and the 2 parts of the ceiling, like the tile is going to be tight there, but in the center it's going to be open. That's why I don't do my own drywall, because I like my customers.
I like them. I want a callback. But so now with tile, which one likes it more than the other? Since this is a duel.
Stuff.
Oh, we're pretty likes the trade.
Yeah. 'Cause usually it's the one that has the OCD that likes it more.
We're equal.
We're kind of equal, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like we kind of at this.
the OCD that likes it more.
All right.
There's
Who's
some-
doing it?
Harry.
Who's got the echo? Harry?
Harry. Got to,
Oh.
There you go. No, he's having rain issues like you guys did. I
Oh,
guess it's raining where he's at, so his service is spotty
Yeah,
now.
it's raining where I'm at too.
So yeah, no, I only asked that because the second guessing part that you guys talk about is basically what a tile guy is, because you're constantly like, is it perfect? You triple check, you quadruple check, you put the level, you check it again, you stand back, you take forward. That's what tile will do to you. It'll make you a person that's like nervous wreck.
yeah. Okay.
Right now, we kind of our respective roles are you're mostly on cutting and the tools, and I'm on install. So we each have our areas of like flipping out over
You marked
our
it wrong. No, you
respective-
cut it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
You marked it wrong. No.
Right.
That sounds familiar, right, Omar?
Oh, Jesus
What'd you
Christ.
do? Like, what'd you do? I did what you told me to do. I did what you marked.
You start blaming the cutter.
Oh well, and the other day I was like,
Tape's crooked.
you keep giving me cuts that are a 16th off. And not that I was being accusatory, but I was just pointing it out. And I said, I can't use
Not at
this.
all.
I can't use this. And he said, this was escalating. And then we found out that I had a little piece of dried mortar on the edge of my
Oh,
my
tape.
tape measure clip. And it was bumping my measurements
Okay.
out.
But so what matters is that she actually confessed this to me, right? And didn't make me lose my, because I was triple checking every single cut I was doing. I'm like,
Trying to gaslighting you on tile.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm doing it right.
I know.
Just go
So I
can see it.
Ramsey, you're fucking useless.
I'm sure she
Yeah,
sat there.
yeah,
She was like,
exactly.
she found the piece of mortar, and she was like, should I?
Yeah,
tell him?
right, exactly.
Oh,
Or should
hey,
I,
you know
just
what?
let him ride with it?
Finally,
Hey.
you got it right.
the key to a happy marriage whilst working together is we can both admit when we're wrong.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And that's another thing too. From the carpentry side, I'm sure you know, like you always buy the same tape and double check them to make sure. Because if you get 2 brand tapes, you might be off, and it'll drive you nuts.
Right.
I had
right.
that happen with a buddy of mine. He's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing what you told me.
Because I know, like
the tape,
framing,
there's like an 1/8 inch difference.
yeah, framing crews
that.
will actually like just buy a specific tape, and like this is all you use on the site, and you cannot use anything else.
Of course.
Otherwise, you know, like you said, you come back, you're like, why is this off? Like, I'm doing it. What you're telling you, mark it.
This also happened. You were using Milwaukee, and I was using a really shitty one that you bought me that you insisted was great, called like Cremulon or something.
Yeah. She caught this one on fire. It was a good time.
Cremulon. Oh, is that the neon yellow one from Lowe's?
No, it's like
No, it was
powder blue.
Wait.
It was white. It wasn't powder blue. It was white.
Caught
Okay.
on fire?
Well, it was off.
All right, it was off.
So
Well,
another thing too is how, like, we ran into this issue with Omar. Whenever I mark a line with a tile with like a Sharpie, I always split the line, right? Because you know the Sharpie tips are fat, so I split the line. And Omar's like, "You didn't cut all of it off," and he doesn't want you to remove the line. Now we're talking about, I was like, keep the line or remove the line
at one point.
And this is another very commonplace conversation. So, Steph, do you want me to cut the line off? Yes, cut all of the ink off. Do you want me to go in the middle of the line or to the left of it?
If he marks
cut the line off.
If she marks the tile for me, it's communication, right? And I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm sure you find yourself doing it to yourself. You're like, you mark it, you go to cut, come back, and you're like, I should have cut that line off, shouldn't I?
Yeah,
And then you have to do it all over again. So you have a conversation with yourself.
There's a lot of conversations I have with myself. I'm not gonna lie. There are really a lot. And I think about this before I go to bed, and it's like the first thing I think about when I wake up now. So it's becoming a bit of a mild obsession. Steph and I will be going for a walk out in the woods, and she'll be like, for the love of God, do not bring up anything tile related for the next hour, right? So yeah.
You mean your fuck ups? No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that one tile, right? Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't going to, but you went there. No.
So now, when you guys jumped into the tile, like, what was your first, I guess, where did you learn it from? Like, what gave you the jump start into tile? Teaching wise, I want to say. I know baptism by fire is my favorite way of learning, but
tile.
We've been self-taught, but we have to throw a huge nod out to home repair tutor. Jeff has been amazing. He coached us through a lot of stuff in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So we found his content to be really great. And then
it's basically like I say to Steph, like we were like sponges, right? Like we basically went to absorb as much information as we possibly could. And it was really hard doing that online because I'm sure, as you know, there's a lot of contradictory information online, right? Yes. So we had to basically just go through as much as we could and use sort of our background to kind of decipher what did and didn't make sense and go from there. Because a lot of times we'd ask professionals too, we'd ask them questions about specific topics, and then we would get a kind of like a non-answer, sort of like, well, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You can do it this way or that way. But we're really, really detail-oriented people, so we want to be told this is the way to do it, and like the specific recipe. But then we're realizing through working in the trade that that's just the reality, right?
It's far from it.
Yeah. So
everybody swears by a different method.
Exactly.
And I mean, and I'm sure you guys have noticed this with social media. When you post your content, it's like it'll take a life of its own. When the comment section, they'll be like, you do this way. No, this is the right way. And then it's just like, it's no longer your video. It's the public's video.
Yeah.
And they're having their own discussion. So,
well, we're not quite there yet, Omar. We've got like 4 posts, right? Because we're both like very, very fresh with social media. So this has been another kind of interesting learning experience.
Oh yeah,
We haven't yet experienced any of the sort of how should I say, negative feedback.
Oh, it's awesome.
Not yet.
It's awesome. It happens quite often.
I'm sure it does.
Eventually, you'll be able to look at your feed and watch the transformation from being on topic to something completely different.
Yeah,
it's like tiling methods, tools, and then politics.
Yeah, it always forms into that. It always goes to politics for some reason.
It's like, guys, we're talking about foam boards here.
Yeah, and so, but like with social media and tile, the best example I guess I could give you guys is like with tile, you can get stuck on the thinking phase when you're in front of that tile and you're like thinking about the perfect layout, this cut, that, and you wasted half of your day just looking at it versus like just cut a tile and put it against the wall. Social media is the same way. Just put a video out there and the feedback alone will tell you.
Right.
So don't get stuck on the thinking phase. In other words, that was my problem when I started. It was like, I think, it's got to be a perfect video. It's got to be all these like crazy transitions. And it turns out that I posted a video about me gluing a bench against the wall and everybody loved it.
Yeah.
Random video, nothing fancy, just bench against the wall.
All right.
But that started a whole thing about foam and cement and how I'm the worst guy in the world for putting foam in a shower and it's going to fail in 5 days and yada, yada, yada. So prepare yourself for that. Don't take it personal. It's just the world.
There's always somebody that knows more than you in the chat.
Well, of course. Of course.
There's a 22-year-old there with 60 years experience in the trade and you need to know
every single time. Every single time.
So with the information with Jeff, the bathroom, I forget there's 2 now because I know his partner.
Jeff is
home repair. Yeah, because I always get them confused because if you look at the early videos, they're together.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I've seen like really early videos, but so you basically have to do kind of like what I did, which was like watch 6 videos and out of the 6, see how many line up, and it's like, okay, out of the 6, 3 of them were the same. That's the method.
Yeah.
Process of elimination, really.
Right. There was a lot of that.
Yeah,
and then we actually what we did after that was we did a lot of work for like friends and family to kind of implement everything we were learning. Mm-hmm. So we could take like a shower and spend a month working on it and really kind of try to learn all the nuances and put all of what we've learned into practice, right? So that was really helpful because we had
about half a dozen of those opportunities, which was amazing before we had a paid job.
So we did them for virtually nothing, right? So it was just to give us an opportunity, and everyone, people, if you're getting basically like a free shower renovation, right? People are, they're like, they have no problem having it done. So that gave us an opportunity to kind of really hone in with things.
Right. And so waterproofing wise, when you guys first got started, which avenue did you take as far as the waterproofing goes?
Sure. It's the most
goes with the orange stuff.
Well, it's the most readily, especially for where we live. We're in the middle of nowhere, right? So it's the most readily available for us. And again, you kind of got to give them a nod to their marketing, right? It's really good marketing. If you're getting into it, that's the first thing. It's everywhere, right? So we fell prey to that too, and that's where we started. But since then, we're branching out, and there are things that we do and don't like about those systems, and that we want to use other ones. So.
You like foam boards, don't you?
That's where we're going next. Yeah.
That's
if I can get away from banding, I'm going to be a happy man. Like I've got a lot of years logged behind a trowel, right, and a drywall knife. So like I hate banding. I cannot stand it.
Well, what you'll see is like honestly, all these systems they're pretty much the same thing. It just comes down to like minor little nitpicking details that it's preference. Like you don't want to do the banding, right? Some people, they don't want to use the sealant. They have trust issues with the sealant, or they'll use topical, or some people are against foam boards altogether. Some people are against Schluter because, they had some issues in the past. Some people, everybody has their own reasons, and they're all minor details. At the end of the day, they're all waterproof. They're all a good tile backer. They're all going to work the same way. It's just, there's differences, but probably not enough to really ever make like a catastrophic difference or cause a catastrophic failure. So, but Schluter's everywhere. I know you mentioned being in the middle of nowhere and just getting what's accessible. That's with Aloha Tile in Hawaii. He just has to get whatever he can get a hold of. I mean, they get limited shipments, and it could be a Frankenstein shower, it can be a full system. It's whatever he can get a hold of.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we're having to get creative to find different distributors and different companies that are willing to work with us based on our location, and we're working within that. So yeah, same thing.
in Canada, I think there's a fairly good amount of different systems out there.
Yes, in
You guys could
Canada,
depending on where you're
Omar,
at.
there are more than 2 systems in Canada.
Well, for us, like in the East Coast, we have like Go Board Schluter. You can get Hydroblock, but it gets really expensive. Like you're talking about how much
Hydroban,
is Hydroban? It's like 115
Sentinel.
a board or something.
Yeah,
It's like a
34 by
ridiculous
8.
price.
Yeah.
So how do you go to a customer's house and like, hey, it's going to be $2,500 just for the waterproofing?
Yeah.
We haven't even put a tile on the wall yet.
But it comes with a free T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, when they
Lifetime
start giving you
guarantee.
free T-shirts and hats, you're
You're
screwed.
in trouble. And then, yeah,
This
so
one's gonna hurt.
you will, I guess you guys will run eventually to the Frankenstein world, as they call it.
Yeah.
When you start mixing, matching stuff, and like they're gonna kill you. They're gonna call you a hack, and because the warranties are void and this and that. But it's like you guys have to grab what you can because
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you are the warranty at the end of the day. So
exactly. Well, that's exactly right. 100%.
Now, how far away are you guys from like the nearest town or city? Because I know you said you're far. So
Hour and a half.
hour and a half.
Yeah, it's the closest city. Yeah.
That's not bad. You're like
but you have to come back too, right? So
Yeah.
it takes a big chunk out of your day.
3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet. What's the closest neighbor?
Oh, they're not. We have one that's people that are on both sides.
See,
so
that's interesting. Okay. Different people on their drive time. Like an hour, I'm like, that's not bad. Anything over an hour, right? One way, I'm like, it's a little far. But I can comfortably drive within an hour and just be like, that's a normal trip.
Yeah.
Driving 9 hours, that's a different story.
It's also a peninsula, so it's the end.
Right. And there's nothing in the town, like it's not even a town. Like where we live, it's all national parks, so that's what brings people to the area. In the summertime, in the winter, it's completely dead, and all we have is a grocery store, post office, and a liquor store. So
gotta have that liquor store.
Gotta have the liquor store, and that's it.
Pizza Hut.
Yeah, every small town has a
Pizza Hut.
Every small town has a Pizza Hut and a Dollar General. So there's a Dollar General somewhere in there.
Nope.
Don't even have a Dollar General.
Damn. And I mean,
there's no In-N-Out burger.
In-N-Out, you ain't missing out with In-N-Out.
Yeah. Five Guys, maybe.
Five Guys, I ain't paying like $30 for a fucking burger.
Still a good burger.
No,
if you guys ever had Five Guys. But now with obviously with getting into the tile, what do you guys see as like, where is your business morphing to now that you've entered the tile world? Because that kind of changes people a little bit in a sense.
Steph?
Well, so we're specializing in bathroom renovations and custom showers.
Yeah.
So
that's
sticking within the tiling world.
That's the direction we want to take it in, kind of just specialization, really.
Yeah. So you're going to focus basically on. So basically, your niche is going to be now just bathrooms, essentially, in tile. I want to say.
Yeah, like you saw our last video that we posted, and that was like a full bathroom reno, and that's the type of work that we like doing because we're able to use all of our skill sets, right? Mm-hmm. Right from the framing to the final painting and tiling, right? So those are the challenging and fun jobs for us to do. So that's really kind of what we're aiming for.
That seems to be reoccurring because, like you said, it's multi-trade in a bathroom between the bathroom and the kitchens. And generally, if someone does bathrooms, they either do kitchens or at some point they start doing kitchens because in reality, it's so similar. Just has more cabinets and less parts.
Exactly. So, and the nice thing is, we limit the amount of subs that we bring in, right? So we bring in electrician and then a plumber, and then that's it. We can get rid of everybody, and then we handle the rest of the work. And that's how we like to handle it. It's how we handled things when we built our house. We had to hire specific trades to help us out. But as soon as they were finished, we got them the hell off of our property so we could do it ourselves, right? Because again, there's so many issues with a lot of the subs. And a lot of people don't take pride in what they do, right? So that's a big issue.
So you're talking about direction. We want to start definitely getting into the plumbing aspect of things.
Ooh.
Just to like as insurance for our business. You know, we
Now,
can't rely on people.
so
Yeah.
how does that work as far as like location where you guys are, licensing and how to run the business? How does that work? Because I mean, you guys are kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I don't know if it's similar to my situation.
Well, it's kind of like a cottage country demographic. So there's a fair amount of work up here. So we can work the peninsula, and that can be sufficient for us. We were working on the road a lot all over the province, and we're trying to move our work more closer to home. So it's been good. Like there's plenty of work available. So there's definitely a market for it up here. So
Right. And how does that go as far as like licensing, for example? What do they require you guys to have in your area?
It's like aside from again
20
like
bucks.
the
Like,
electrical.
right. Like, for instance, like to run a business, obviously you need liability insurance, stuff like that. But they also
Yeah.
require you to have like specific trade license, like plumbing, for example. Do you need to
Yeah.
have a plumber's license?
Yeah, they
Or
don't have it. It's not regulated. It's regulated differently in different provinces, but the province we live in, I mean, aside from being a plumber or an electrician, we don't need to have like to get into tiling. But we don't need to have a license to do that, right? It's
What about a
it's
contractor's
regulated.
license?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, not here.
Yeah.
There's
You
like-
tiling, you don't.
part of the problem, like, specifically where we live, is that there's a shortage in homes, right? So they're like the government is trying to build as many houses as they possibly can. So, and if they start implementing a whole pile of restrictions to contractors, these houses aren't going to get built, right? So I think that's one of the reasons
so they're
why it doesn't
loosening up
exist.
they're
It's,
loosening
yeah,
up, I guess, the restrictions. Yeah. So I see what they
Yeah.
mean. 'Cause-
but I mean, but that brings a whole other slew of problems, right? So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it is
see,
what it
and
is.
it's a little different for everybody. So, like, Omar, his contractor's license is different by county, right? And he
Right.
just has to basically go up there, show he's got like what insurance, a surety bond, right?
Mhm.
And then hand
Yep.
him like $20 on there. Boom, he's licensed. Me, on the other hand, in North Carolina, I gotta buy $13. I have to have like $17,000 in working capital, a surety bond, $1 million insurance policy, and then I have to go take like a 300 question test and pass less than I think 75%. And then I got to go through the board, show them references, be in good moral standing. Like I gotta hop through all these
Should
hoops
just
just to get a
Right.
license, just to get a
Right.
limited license, which allows me to work up to $750,000. If I want to go higher, then I have to retake the test. If I want to go to another state, I either got to get a NASCA license or I've got to reapply. You have to apply in that state. So it's different for everybody.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
in North Carolina, if you're over $40,000 for any project, if it hits over 40 now, it used to be 30, you have to have a contractor's license. So for bathrooms and kitchens, it's usually pretty good. Kitchens, it can get higher depending on what I'm providing. But
Yeah, right.
some
Pretty
places
quickly.
it's like $5,000. Yeah. So that's what we were asking.
So in your area, as far as getting work, what are you guys using to find leads or get leads?
A lot of it's word of mouth. And that's how I basically established my business like years ago. So like I used to advertise when I first started out in the trades, just like the old school ways of like in the paper and things like that, 20
What's a
years ago.
paper?
Exactly. 20 years ago. Yeah.
What's a paper?
What's paper?
The phone book.
But shortly thereafter, like I'll say about 5 years into into working in the trades, I built a really good reputation for myself. So I didn't have to advertise anymore. So like word of mouth kept me busy full time for years. And that's, my opinion, that's just one of the best forms of advertising you can ever get, right?
It's the more solid one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So that's what we're trying to build on now. Same thing.
Some generic methods of advertising like signs and local
What
stuff.
about more of a establishing like an online presence and going
Well,
that route?
honestly, that's why I started the whole Instagram account, because honestly, like I've never really had any kind of social media presence whatsoever. It just wasn't something I did. But so this is all very new to me. But it's been I've only really been at it. I mean, regularly since probably November. So, there's been a learning curve with this, but that's exactly why I started it. Because it's definitely, it's definitely important to have.
Right. Now, how many times do you find yourself starting a really cool process of a project to only realize your camera's not recording?
Or you forget to record.
You know what? I'm used to, like, before this, I did a lot of photography, so I'm used to taking photos all the time. So when you see like a ton of photos of Steph posted, it's just because I always have a camera in her face. I just do. I always have. And I'm always snapping photos. But this is a bit different for me, kind of putting together like a montage, like, so like the project we just finished, like, how do I take 21 days of work and put it into a 45-second video clip? That's what's a bit challenging for me, because there's so much like blood, sweat, and tears in that 21 days that no one will ever know about, right?
Well,
that's because you're going the Instagram route. If you're going the YouTube route, it favors long format. So it's good to go long format and take clips for short format stuff.
Okay.
Right. So
we haven't
I guess
even considered YouTube yet. Seriously.
Should.
So
if you're gonna do it right off the bat.
There's more editing. That's the only downside. There's more editing involved with it. And also too, the biggest thing is when you go to YouTube, every time you watch a video, what do? You take your phone, you flip it this way. So like the filming format's different. So I've found you either have to record landscape mode and crop it out, but if you're going on like all the social media apps, you lose a lot of footage.
Yeah.
Or you have to run two cameras, which can sometimes be cumbersome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, the other thing too that, like, I guess since we've been at it longer than you guys have, is you don't have to put your whole bathroom in 60 seconds.
Okay.
Break up the whole process. You know what I mean? Like, literally, that's what I guess one of my issues was in the beginning. I was like, how do I show the world this entire build in 60 seconds? And you literally can't.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing like 10x on the speed and nobody can see how fast.
Don't blink.
Yeah,
don't blink. Don't blink.
The whole bathroom.
Yeah.
So
versus chopping it up into like 10 or 15.
Yeah, chop it up. I mean, of one build can have like maybe 50 footages out of it, just of like everything you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be every process, but that's what I've come to learn. It's like, okay, I'm building something. I just show you like mixing the thin set, slapping a tile, first row.
Right.
That's a clip. You don't have to show the whole wall and all that stuff, or leveling the tiles as you're going.
Right.
Small clips that will help you like ease the stress of like you don't have to put everything in that video.
Right. So I appreciate it.
Plus,
you have more regular content that way, which makes sense. So
it keeps you going. In the beginning when I started, I was posting every day, and it became stressful at one point. I was like, oh my god, I can't miss a day. It's gonna hurt the followers, whatever. I started to like take it personal. After a while, I was like, you know what, I'm doing this for fun.
Right.
There was no monetization at the time. I didn't even know I could make money on social media. So I did it for fun, and also to reference back. Because if you ever have to reference, like when you're about to hang like something inside of a tiled shower, like a grab bar, and you're like, okay, where the hell are the pipes? And then you pull out your video, and you're like, okay, it's right here. So so that's what I used it for. I used to take pictures of all my builds to know where
your cheat sheet. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
What was the job that we did, Omar? I go up to New York to help Omar occasionally. I'm in North Carolina. And there was something we were going through. Me and him were both scrolling through our footage because we were both recording footages. We're like, all right, what the hell's behind this wall? We're like, oh no, it was that valve. That's what it was. It was that valve on the radius job because it had remember it wasn't like distributing the water right. So we're sitting there trying to look at the configuration of the plumbing. Like, who's got pictures? Who's got videos? And I think we caught like the 2-frame segment of the valve.
Yeah,
like no, it's done right.
You guys ever like installed? Well, I don't know if you guys do your plumbing yet, but install a Kohler valve. So the mixing valve of the Kohler valve has this tiny little plug that you're supposed to take out for it to work for a shower handle.
Right.
So when I went to turn it on, it wasn't working. I was like, oh my God, I left the plug inside. It's already tiled, everything. This is the closing out stage. I'm like, how do I get that plug out? I have to literally tear the whole wall out or take a tile off the wall. And thankfully, it was just that the shower valve was upside down.
No.
Like the cartridge was upside down. But yeah, that's what the footage actually helps you. Sometimes you go back and you're like, especially when you're hanging things, that's always freaks me out. Like people want grab bars or anything that you have to drill into the tiles, you're like,
Yeah,
okay, where
sure.
is this pipe? Even though you put the striker plates, you're drilling. You're like, just put more force; it'll go right through it. And then you're drilling through the striker plate.
Right.
It's a diamond bit;
I
it'll
take
drill
pictures
through
with
it.
a tape measure with the blocking where the pipes are. It's the
Yeah,
most
that's all
helpful
good
thing in the
too.
world.
So, and so in your area, as far as like tile guys, how many are there in your area? In your
Not
place?
a lot.
Competition.
Just a couple. Yeah.
Wow.
Have you seen an increase by any chance in the past couple of years?
Yeah.
There has been in our area, just because there's been a lot more development, right? Because like Steph said, it's sort of like cottage country, but I mean, there aren't a lot of vacant lots on the. I mean, if you find a water property, like a vacant lot that has water on it, people are snatching them all up, right? So they're all being developed. So yeah,
Well, that's good. I mean, if you got less people to do it in your area, then I guess the demand's a lot higher.
Yeah.
Competition sucks. So you might want to look, honestly, if you're trying to do some online advertisement, if your competition's low, Google might be a really good option for you guys for Google ads. For me, I have to pay like $850 a month minimum to be seen in my area. Because you can look up contractors. I mean, you got like 30 pages, and I'm not even on those first 30 pages. So it's like, oddly enough, I show up like first page for subfloor repair, even though I don't advertise subfloor repair, but I'll take it.
Interesting.
It's like my subfloor in my bathroom screwed up. I was like, that's not how I was trying to get to this lead, but I guess it leads a lead. So
That's awesome. Now with the trades, and I've asked this question before, or before the podcast, I asked this. Clothing, primarily for construction, is made for guys, but I haven't seen a clothing line for females. Is there any out there that's specifically trade related?
Troco went the female with their
Rosie
line. Yeah, they have a bunch of Rosie Riveter kind of stuff.
I mean, it's kind of weird when they try to like
thing.
Yeah, because like if you try to like wear Carhartts, like it's not gonna fit right. It's just
oh god.
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm talking about.
And that was not. I bought a size 4 pair of Carhartts, which were the smallest, and I just had a moment where I looked at my husband and I'm like, what? No, we're wearing the same pants.
So that was my thing. Like I don't know if there is one. I haven't really looked into it because this was an issue with it was with Lotus Tile. Now I remember the boots, because I guess she has really small feet.
Yeah.
And then the boots that she was getting, they were getting torn up, and I was like, you have to go to Aria makes is female boots for work. It's like specifically for females.
Oh, okay.
So I had to point her in that direction because she was getting boots that were torn up. I was like, go to Aria. They make it just for females because guys' boots are just, big.
Yeah.
Bulky.
For footwear, like I have terrible feet. So I kind of like Bluntstones. They're the only thing that doesn't kill my feet. So we both like the Bluntstones.
Wait till you wear sneakers to tiling. It'll change your world.
Yeah.
Don't listen to him. I refuse to. He's over there like, yeah, I got these shoes. They slip off. And I got like the combat style looking boots. And if I don't have anything above the ankles, it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So look, they just slip off. I'm like, yeah, well, you just pull it and
the thing is with me is like, when I'm in the building phase, meaning like framing, waterproofing, dry packing, I'll wear the boots. But once I get into the tiling, I switch over to a pair of Adidas because it's flexible. You can actually get down more. You can move around, and it's not so cumbersome. Bougie, those things are beat up to crap. So I noticed a lot of guys do that, and like even that guy from Russia, what's his name? You know what you want to talk about, the famous Russian guy.
Is it Winnie?
Does the
No, he's
not
Winnie. No, he's Ukrainian.
Yeah, he's Ukrainian.
Pardon me.
No, this other Russian guy. He does the. You know which one I'm talking about. He does that when he puts that tile on the door frame, that tiny little tile. He perfectly cut. So he wears Crocs to tile.
Yeah.
Like that actually sounds pretty comfortable.
Skyline does Crocs to tile.
I want to wear Crocs to tile.
Flip-flops. Now listen.
I used to live in Nike Freeze. I don't know if anyone remembers these. They're like the total minimalist Nike that you could like roll into a ball, but they don't make those
Nike
anymore.
Free.
It's like a barefoot shoe kind of, and it's just foam, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, but they don't make.
Trying. Yeah,
What's
no, I
that?
like to tile in sneaker. I said I like to tile in sneakers just because
So,
I can like when you're kneeling down, you have these hunky boots. It kind of like it becomes uncomfortable for me.
so
think
Skyline
That's just
says
not.
he tiles and Crocs. I know
Yeah.
Neil tiles in like Converses and Vans. Groovy says he's a hippie. He'll shop in flip flops in the summer, and at the end of the day, he's barefooted. I'm the same way. If I could be barefoot on site, dude, like I'll run through the woods barefoot, like over a pine cone, whatever. I'm that type of person too, and I actually just wear flip flops to the store, so I'm that way too. But other than that, boots. I have to have boots. It feels wrong not to wear boots.
Yeah, same for me.
So
I agree.
I had to go
But
on
then,
a date.
but then again,
I'd wear
I've never
normal.
tried a pair of Crocs like ever in my life, so maybe I'm missing something.
Oh, I had when I was younger,
Oh,
but
Maybe.
you should.
Okay.
You should. It's
I'm
life
gonna pop
changing.
in
I mean,
four-wheel
especially when I
drive.
for vacation. Yeah, exactly. Got to put them on 4-wheel drive. For vacation, when I go to Florida, they dry real fast. You can go into the water with them. You really don't have to take them off. They dry up so fast. So I literally wear Crocs. I go to Florida. It's like the sneakers that I wear and the Crocs. That's all I'm taking.
Soft baby feet, just so you know.
Yeah,
A
spoiled.
lot of
I wear
those
gloves
schools.
when I tile. I don't
Only the
tile.
finest of silk will touch his feet.
Silk and
So-
rubber.
Yeah,
Rubber.
the cheapest rubber. You got to look at. You got to look up the story of how Crocs were made.
Okay.
It's pretty wild. It was actually
Yeah.
based on a movie. It was a movie set prop that became very famous. That's how Crocs were made. But right now, as far as tile, what cutters do you guys use? I know you guys were talking about wet saws and all that stuff. And what's your setup right now for tiling?
Right now, so we've got a couple grinders, cordless grinders. I have the IQ saw that I picked up a couple months back. And I got a DeWalt wet saw. We have a Porter Cable 7-inch wet saw. We have a Montolit snap cutter. So so that's what we have right now. Kind of just figuring out what works the best.
What do you guys find that you levitate more towards?
Well, because it's the winter right now,
IQ.
I've been using the IQ a lot. So that's I've found it's really like the quality of cuts you get is really dependent on the type of tile you're using, the quality of tile you're using. That's what I've found. Using a cheaper tile does not cut very well, but higher quality tiles, it works a lot better. And I've found that it's been pretty on par with the wet saw. So being able to work indoors during the winter is kind of a big deal for me. So,
Not
but
having to
this
set up a wet area.
Yeah, exactly. But this summer, I plan on getting the West out more, really, to have like a direct comparison to figure out what I like more. And yeah.
I will have to recommend on a wet saw. I have the Rigid Beast, and you know the little fence that's on the little sliding carriage.
Yeah.
That fence drops down, so it's flush. So if you got a longer plank tile, what you do is you lift it up over and you try to run it through, which everybody does it. Usually you don't break it, but it's nice to drop that fence down and it's perfectly flat. So theoretically you have infinite ripping distance. You just limit it on your width.
Right.
So
Okay.
if you're able to get a hold of Rigid, I would look into that.
Okay.
Yeah. So now with any bucket liners that you guys use at all?
Haven't tried them yet, honestly.
No.
No.
We've worked
a
through
lot.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on it?
They're awesome.
So I jumped on it because you spend so much time cleaning your bucket before you even start the job. And half of the times, I'm sure you guys have been into this where you're banging it with a hammer and then you break the bucket, so now it just becomes garbage.
Yeah.
So having the liner is
almost done cleaning it too. Not at the beginning.
Right,
you're almost done.
It's always like that last piece that you're OCD trying to take it out and it breaks the bucket. It's always that one. And so the liners are key. I mean, the great part about it is, like, let's say you're at the end of the day, you just want to go home. You leave it in there. You come back the next day and it literally just pops right out and you can start mixing thin set right away. You don't really have to like scrub it or anything like that because it literally just peels off.
Right.
So it's a good addition for the liner so that you don't have to continue. Also buckets, because you have to, periodically have to buy buckets if you're just using buckets.
Yeah.
I'm sure you found that out. With this one, I'm still using this, I think, a second bucket since I bought the liner.
Oh.
Because it just gets dirty. Not even because it's bad. It's because it's just dirty from drips on the edges.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
But definitely, a bucket liner would increase your productivity because you're not wasting in the morning having to clean buckets, and then, or you go to tile and you have a chunk of leftover thin set that popped off your bucket. I'm sure that's happened too. You're troweling and all of a sudden that 1/4 inch trowel is a 1/2 inch magically.
Yeah.
And say,
Well, it's
so
it's certainly a messy trade. That's been a frustrating part of this too, is trying to figure out a way to handle everything in
A good
a
system.
good system. Yeah, keeping things clean.
well,
Oh boy, here he goes. You spoke to
well,
the right person. He
Jose
tiles
is
with
the
gloves.
yeah.
Oh,
I
Jose?
tile with gloves. Jose is the only tile guy that I know that like never has thin set on him ever. Like this guy tiles in brand new clothes and like
Like you would think it's staged. Like he just
yeah,
just
exactly.
out of the
I'm like,
camera and
dude,
then,
like,
get it.
he's like, no. He's like, I get dirty, and then he shows me like a tiny little spot in his pants. He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got dirty. I'm like, no, this isn't dirty.
Yeah.
No, I
I'm
need to
sure-
see you working.
You guys, I'm sure you realize like you kind of have to like choose what clothes you want to tile in because more than likely they will be trashed and
Yeah.
gone by the time you're done.
She gets pretty dirty. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I started
Damn.
as a painter. I was the same way. My philosophy at the end of the day is the quality of the job. But how I looked was ridiculous.
Modern day,
I was
modern
big.
day masterpiece.
And now it's the same with cement.
It's worse. Yeah.
I'm covered.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat the same way, especially if I'm in like a time crunch. And the last thing I'm worried about is, the clothes that I'm going to wash anyway. If the job's clean, that's all that matters. And, I'll have like a little spot on my pants while I'll just wipe my thumb off, right? I scrape it on the bucket. There's always a little bit left. I put it on the pants. I'm the same way. Omar, on the other hand, he's very,
Very clean.
Clean. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's an OCD thing. Like, I started with the bucket liner. I found a bucket scoop that's made out of plastic, so it doesn't stick. So when you wash it at the end of the day, there's literally no like buildup. If you guys use a bucket scoop, I'm sure you realize like it becomes like this heavy weight thing after a while,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to sit there and bang it and break it. I buy gloves because I hate my hands cracking after a long time. Because like Ben said, will dry your hands like extremely. So gloves are a good option. Also because when you're working and your hands get dirty, you could just wipe it with a sponge and it's like instantly clean versus your hands that you have to like work your way out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So gloves is good. Bucket scoop if you want to, because I know he likes to not use a bucket scoop and just dip the trowel and spread things.
because I know how to
everywhere up
maneuver the
wall.
trowel.
And then also the drips as you go to the wall. Yeah. No.
Yeah, he uses a bucket scoop, a margarine trowel, and then your normal trowel, right? And the guy I was training,
I
was
have
like,
a
you better
whole
learn how to use just the trowel. We had to learn how to use the trowel. As long as you don't get the little thin set cap on the edge of your thing, you're good. And he's just like,
I personally I cannot stand when my tools are dirty. If I get thin set on my handle, because like as a painter and a drywall person, like I cannot handle things on my hands. So even when if I paint a room or paint a whole house, I will not get a drop of paint on me, like not a single drop. So like I'm used to being super clean, and if I get anything on my hands, it drives me absolutely nuts. So I have to wear latex gloves all the time. Like our last job, I went through 50 pairs of them. I went through 50 pairs. I keep taking them off and throwing them away. That's my OCD thing. Can't stand it.
Yeah, the Amazon has a 20 case that I buy, the black ones.
That's what I mean.
And they're like they're good. They're really tough because they don't pierce with the trowels. You catch the corners and stuff. It actually doesn't tear. So I use that, and he makes fun of me, but like it's easy. At the end of the day, just take the gloves off and go home. Versus going home and like exfoliating my wife's face as I'm trying to like touch it because there's like caked up, hands on there, and as it is, like my knuckles are permanently damaged from banging into things in construction. So that's kind of like, I guess, the way I do it. But other than that, like, what's your normal setup? Like mixer, wash bucket, mixing bucket. Like, take us through that routine.
That's all
like
you.
I have a margin trowel, the notch trowels, but we're weird. Like I like to scoop sometimes with a drywall knife, just because I'm used to drywall knives. So sometimes I'll scoop it out onto my trowel with a drywall knife, or I'll actually apply some of it in certain spots with a drywall knife. Yeah,
it's funny you say that because I'm more of a towel guy. When I do drywall work, I use the flat trowels because I'm able to maneuver it better.
Yeah,
It feels more, it feels natural, right? You already know how to maneuver the tool, but as long as you get the same result, it doesn't matter.
Well, and also we just discovered that like I'm right-handed, but I always feel that the notches are on the wrong side, the wrong edge of the trowel.
They make left-handed trowels.
Left-handed, I just figured this out on one of our last jobs because I could not figure out why I kept getting my handle full of mortar, right? And I finally realized, I'm like, shit, it's because I need a left-handed trowel, right? And it's completely backwards for me. So didn't know that was a thing.
Me and Omar thought about gifting people left-handed trowels just as a joke. So, because when you got that muscle memory, we just lost Instagram. When you got that muscle memory, right, it screws with the muscle memory. So when you get a left-handed trowel, they flip it over and it's on the flat side, and they just scrape the floor with the flat side. They're like,
yeah.
I mean, because it was supposed to be like, I'm willing to spend really good money on like really expensive trowels as long as they're the wrong ones. So that way they kind of feel like forced to use it and learn. So it's a really nice trowel, but I can't use it because it's a left-handed trowel. And like, I didn't know that was a thing either until I saw the Huts tile, the new ones that came out. I didn't know they had a left-handed trowel. And that's when I was like, oh, so who can I prank?
Well, I saw that. We ordered all of them, right? And then that's what I started using. And I'm like, I didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the same thing that they had left-handed, and I was like, who the hell would use a left-handed trowel? And it turns out I need them. So I have to order a whole new set.
So I mean, you also like. I know she likes to scoop with the. You got to try the. I'll show you. I'll share with you guys later on the scoop that I use. Yeah, from Buddy Tools. It's plastic, and it's conformed to. It's basically for drywall actually. So it's more of a drywall tool, but I just use it for thin set because I hate when it cakes up.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I just got one of those. The curved.
It's green.
The curved?
No.
It's
not plastic.
Oh, okay.
The plastic one, I just like it because the issue was I had the QEP one. That was the one you get at Home Depot. But after a while, it starts to grow thin set lines. And like I said, you got to bang it. The other one is just quick bucket wash. You're good to go.
Yeah.
So you might get used to that one a lot easier too. And it's also for drywall. So it comes natural.
Yeah. Or just do what I do and just buy enough acid to get put on a watch list when you go to the hardware store.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so if you want to clean your tools,
I melted a trowel with this acid.
Don't do what this guy did.
It works amazing.
Melted a trowel.
Yeah, you're not supposed to soak it. Use muric acid, and it comes pre-mixed. They use it to etch concrete, and as soon as it touches the cement-based products, it starts to smoke and smell like eggs, and it will bubble. What I do is I put a little bit in the bucket, right, and I'll slosh it around. I'll throw a tool in there and slosh it around. I decided to pour like the whole gallon in a bucket and let it sit. And one of the trowels got so hot that it actually started to melt the side of the bucket. And then it finally cooled off. And then I let the trowel sit there. And the next day I pulled it out and like the handle had fallen off and it was completely rusted. And I posted on my story. And this is the funny part. Within like 6 minutes of me posting that story, I had 5 minutes. I had like 6 people reach out to me because I was holding the trowel up with my fingers barehanded. I was like, it burnt through the trowel. Everyone's like, you fucking dumbass.
Put some gloves on.
Yeah, I had to do like a YouTube apology video like 5 minutes later. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a mistake. In the future, I will be more, finally use the gloves that Omar gave me.
Yeah, he still has that box. It's amazing.
No, the box is gone, but I have the clump of gloves. The box got wet.
Oh, God. But yeah, so leveling systems, what do you guys use? Whatever Home Depot has, or
that's favorite.
Perfect Level Master.
I was gonna say it's in Canada.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
it's good stuff
for rookies, I guess, if we can use that term. Lifesaver.
Yeah, I mean,
there have been times where, and again, totally candid here, there have been times where I'm like, come on, you can do it. And I'm waiting, and I'm thinking that it's not going to pull it in. And it has saved my butt.
Yeah, no, with the cool thing about I guess the spacers, or I like to call them leveling clips, but not leveling clips because a lot of people take that term
Lippage.
literal. They're like, oh yeah, as long as I use the leveling clips, it'll be level.
Right.
And then they find out real fast it's not.
Yeah.
It's anti lippage clips.
Right.
People are starting to like make that more aware. Like even the event training I went to before, the Stephen Cooper Secret, like they're leveling clip. Well, they're lippage clips. They don't level anything. They're lippage clips.
Right.
But we're gonna use these leveling clips to install.
You know, for you guys starting out, it helps you a lot, but you also will run into some jobs that, like, for instance, you're doing 8-inch hexagons, and you will see people use clips on that, and it's like you got to buy. You know, you're putting perfect level master kids through college for the amount of clips you're going to use in that floor.
Yeah.
So you'll eventually
we've done one like that. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh Jesus.
I refuse to lay hexes with clips. It's
Yeah,
just because those hexagons are never perfect on all sizes, and I
perfect.
just end up laying them by hand anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, that was my very first
That
tile
was their
job
first job.
ever.
Yeah.
Was
I'm
an
sorry.
8-inch or 7.5-inch hex
With leveling clips.
floor.
Be honest, how much did it drive you
You
nuts?
should see the picture I took of that. It's all leveling clips.
With the QEP system.
Oh, the little tiny wedges.
And it was good.
It
was good.
It worked out.
The tiny ones or the new ones? There's two.
Well, this was a few years ago.
So it's
So
tiny
probably
wedges.
the small skinny,
they were
the small
small.
skinny wedges. Yeah. So
The
I've
yellow.
used that too when I started out. That because, like you said, you start out at the box store, you grab whatever you can find there.
Nuh-uh.
You know, like
Nuh-uh.
so, like VersaBond, which everybody gives like a hard time. There's like, oh,
I
it's
was
a
gonna
box
ask
store
what they
thin
thought it
set.
was.
You know, so what thin set do you guys use?
Yeah, what's
Well, we've been again limited
orange.
availability, so we were using basically Schluter all set for well, probably 90% of what we've been doing. But then we've just recently got in touch with Kiesel, so we're going to start using their products.
Ooh.
That's supposed to be like the Cadillac of thin sets too.
Yeah. So luckily we can get it around here, and we met with one of the marketing director last week. So we can we got a couple bags to try out on our next job, and then we can start using that. But we're pretty excited to try it out.
Ditch that all set. I can't stand that stuff.
Yeah.
You'll
everybody
find out.
agrees. The only people that like it are Schluter reps.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, not
So-
only the cost, but we had a meeting with the Kiesel rep the other day, and he brought up a topic that wasn't really on my radar too much. It wasn't at the forefront of my mind, like the toxicity, right? And all of the VOCs in these products. And it's usually an afterthought for me because, again, as somebody starting out, I have way other, like, more important priorities than safety sometimes, which is not right. But you know, I'd hop outside and okay, I got to mix a quick batch of either thin set or grout, and don't have any mask on. And
Nobody does.
smell,
You're not
I can
alone on that one.
smell the chemicals are like insanely strong, and yeah, we're wanting to switch to Kiesel for a slew of reasons, but that's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys don't want to do the little while you're mixing.
Yeah. I can only hold my breath for so long.
I know, right? You're like, I'm gonna mix
Spin,
this.
walk
I got
away.
this. When you do if you ever done self level, you do that
Oh,
because
that
you're mixing
fine powder.
Ah, it's bad. But they I mean, I tried I don't know if you guys ever tried the vacuum with the attachment to the bucket.
the dust hog or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it's
Multiple
called.
people
I
make
bought
a variation of it.
Yeah, but it's just like I gotta get the vacuum. I gotta set it up, and it's like, I'm just gonna mix. Unless you have a mixing station, then that's different.
Yeah,
you know, like if you set up your own mixing station. But no, that's interesting. I did not know with the Kiesel because I've been wanting to try them.
Yeah,
but the only way we can get it is through Amazon, and it's like almost $90 a bag.
Right.
That's insane. Like,
You have to pay shipping for a pallet. The most cost-effective way is to order a pallet and pay for it.
It is. Yeah, in the States. Yeah.
So that's the downside because it's in Canada, right? They're Canadian based.
I think they're Canadian based.
Well, they're European, right? But
the close, I guess, big distributors in Canada.
Yeah, we can get it readily here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, no, it's. I mean, you've seen E-Tiles videos. You see how he doesn't use leisure boards with that thing, which is kind of
Oh my
wild.
God. Well, that's what we learned too, that like with Kiesel, that because it's all European standards, right? So like when it's based on the European standard, if they say that it's no sag, it's no sag. But then I don't know if it's North American standards that they, what did he say?
They
16th?
allow for an eighth, I think.
Yeah, so an eighth to call it no sag, right? Which is not no sag. So that's yeah.
That's to some sag.
Yeah.
Damn Americans.
Light sag.
So yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, hopefully you guys do a thorough video on that, because I've been tempted to even just order a bag, but it's like I'm kind of like scared that I'm
afraid to like it.
Yeah, I'm afraid to like it. I'm like, guys, a pallet of
it's only $3,000.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, I got a shed, I can put it in there, you know.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's what that's the difficult part for them right now too, is to get people thinking of it that way as more of a long-term investment. And but I'm pretty sure that if you commit to trying the bag, you're gonna want to only exclusively use that, right? Yeah, it is, but it is and it isn't, right? So at the end of the day, whatever makes your job easier and makes you able to perform better, we need whatever help we can get at the end of the day.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: have you tried any Latacrete setting material?
So that's like Latacrete isn't super easy for us to get here. So where we're at, so we have to find we have to find a distributor, because a lot of stuff that we get product wise, if it's Latacrete, has to come out of province. Just because they're the only company that will ship to where we live. So that's where it gets a bit difficult for us. So yeah, we're gonna rush this summer. We're gonna start building a workshop on our property so we can have a place to store materials.
Yeah, because we're gonna buy once, cry once on that stuff rather than have to cry every job.
I mean, you're looking at the longevity of this, and
yeah, we have to.
So yeah, I mean, it is kind of like he started it. You know, Jeremiah started with getting a pallet of go board. It's a lot cheaper to just get the whole pallet. I unfortunately don't have storage. I mean, I've kind of like maxed out my 10 by 12 shed. So, but I will eventually, if things continue the way they are, I'm going to start doing the same thing. Like I'll order the whole pallet of Kiesel. Just do it once. Like you said, cry. I'm going to really like it. I'll probably start measuring my thin set at that point, just because I don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
Versus just, this is good enough, and throw out the rest if I don't finish, which I'm sure you guys have ran it. That's an issue that I'm sure you guys have ran into, where it's like when you have 2 rows left and you go mix, you're supposed to mix just enough, and then by the time the rows are done, there's like 3/4 of a bucket left, and you're like, what happened? How did I get here?
Yeah.
We have a lot of head scratching moments like that where, I mean, my math is pretty good, so I don't know what happens. But it's under, it's over. Like,
that's more like you got that last 2 rows and you're looking at the bucket and you're like,
scraping the edges.
Yeah, and you only need like 3 tiles more worth of thin set. You're like,
right,
exactly. That's the worst. Yeah, but I mean, another thing too, I'm sure you guys have noticed, like you can kind of measure tile and like measure it to try to get like specific layouts, but then you realize that once you start slapping, that measurement literally just disappears magically, because somehow the tiles move and grow within the process of tiling. So I've given up on that. Like when I do my tile layouts, I put them on the floor, put a measuring. I just want to make sure the height. Everything else in between, I'll figure it out.
That's because of all the sag in your mortar, right?
No, it has to be. It has to be. I mean, I just want to try, because like
I know
he's putting gas on the minute. He wants me to order the pallet. I probably will. Now you guys are going to help me do this.
Oh yeah.
Well, we were talking to one of our colleagues, if you will, who's way more experienced than we are, who's been sort of a mentor to us, and he was explaining how like he's a very experienced carpenter, so he gets his framing perfect, and we've been trying to do that, but we're learning. We got the built with foam system. To try it out, but he gets his framing perfect so that he can pre-cut everything. And that's a dream
Well,
But
don't go to Home Depot for your lumber.
Yeah,
Don't go to
don't
the
go
big
to
box
Home
stores.
Depot.
Yeah.
Unless you want an impeller. Yeah, no, with the shims are great if you're doing remodels
Hmm.
because it's whatever you have there. But if you have control of the build itself, but I mean,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
can crown your
in
studs, plan it
yeah,
beforehand. Don't have to worry about hitting a nail or a screw.
right. In our, I guess in my experience, I should I speak about myself. It's always been I'm running into 1960s and 70s homes.
Right.
You know, most of the time they use the acrylic inserts, so that means that they hid the worst lumber they could hide behind those things.
Starts
I
like
mean, like
this. By the time you get to the center,
it's
flips.
flat. It's
Yeah,
faced.
water lines, electrical, pesticide lines, all
So,
just running behind that thing.
have you guys used the chips yet from
not
Level5?
yet.
No.
On our next job, we're going
Next
to.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
So
you're done, tell me your favorite flavor. I like the purple ones.
Okay.
that's why we call them the chips. But
Your
no, it's a good
all
system.
secret potato chips.
It's a really good system. It speeds up the process if you master the laser.
Okay.
If you use the laser, because it comes with its own gauge. But what's weird about that is, and I'm sure you know with finishing carpentry, like, yeah, it's perfect here, perfect here. You go up and it's like, oh, it's off. You adjust it to the top, now it's off on the bottom. You know, I've gotten to the point where I put a square, a framing square on the wall. I'm like, okay, this is where my starting point is. And then I go from there with a level. I don't use the laser anymore.
Right.
But there's many, and it's also good for self-leveling. So if you're using the self-level, use the gauge to put chips on the floor to know exactly how much self-level to put down. So then everything
Self-leveler, pitching curbs, pitching niches. You can always stick that piece of foam in the back, especially on the curbs because I'm notorious for stepping on my own curbs. So, I put those shims there to have a positive stop. It's always helpful.
And I mean, they,
All right.
and now as far as shower, you guys done walk-in showers, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Schluter pans, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dry pack?
No, not yet. I'm sure we will at some point, but not yet.
Is it because it's daunting or just didn't jump into
You know, it's this. There's just so much that we're learning at once that it's like I don't want to take on any more information until like we implement what we have at this point. If I keep like just opening the floodgates and let more and more in, it gets a little overwhelming. So I just want to get really good at what we're doing now, and then we'll start adding more to our repertoire.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a good tool just because, like, again, go back to the remodels. You go to a house and it's flat but not level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start leveling, and next thing you know, the rest of the house is not level, so you're gonna really like mess up their house. Doors aren't gonna line up, so it's nice to be able to do a dry pack because then you could just do the shower pan, make that perfect, and everything else can stay imperfect, if you will, but flat. Because in the tile world, flat is a must. Level is preferred. So you'll learn that fast.
Yeah, I like
I'm
that.
sure you've ran into that issue.
Yeah.
Carpentry side is telling you, no, it's got to be perfect, and then the tile side is like, it's flat, just go.
Well, yes,
Just
that's the problem sometimes.
And in the beginning, it wasn't flat, and we had to deal with that. But,
yeah,
and that's where the perfect level master
come in handy. Yeah.
I'm like, she's not going to do it. She's not going to handle this one. And yeah.
Now,
Not proud to say this because should have started with better framing, but
it happens. I mean, it's your problem now, so now you got to deal with it. That's how it always ends up being.
Exactly.
But just as a tip for those, and this is how they kind of, aside from learning on job sites, a good way to get repetitive practice without having to worry about it setting up on you is get like a place, like frame out a box with plywood to mimic a shower pan, and then just get play sand and moisten it a bit, and you'll learn how to screed and pack with that.
Okay.
It kind of feels the same. And the company used to work for kind of did that. But when things get busy, they're like, all right, you got 30 minutes to get this done before it sets up on you. And time starts now. So you're going to pitch from this corner and you just kind of learn on site. But if you got OCD, you're going to battle your first couple pans. I can promise you. You'll always be trying to touch it up and perfect it over like a 16th or a little pocket.
It's a drywall thing. You're always like, I could just feather it out just a little much, and next thing you know, you're back at the tape.
I need it perfect. It drives me nuts.
And then you'll try to fix it and fuck it up. So that's why I can't do drywall. Like I'll take my knife, like I'm just gonna fix that little mark, and then I put a bigger gouge in the mud, and I'm like, I'm sanding it out. Screw it.
Yeah. So, and now, I mean, I'm sure you know with like the pans I'm sure the Schluter pans still have the limitation of 2-inch. I think with right, anything less than 2-inch, you can't use the pans.
Yeah, that's what they recommend.
So, I mean, my biggest fear was when I was doing foams, or when I use foams, I should say, is putting ladders on there when you're having to reach the last aisle. So I usually take like a scrap piece of foam board and put it there, and then put my ladder on top. As a tip for you guys. But now, and in as far as the experience you've had with tile, what's the most complicated thing you ran into that just like drives you nuts for both of you? I know it's two different worlds, so.
With tiling specifically?
Yeah. Or just bathroom, a whole bathroom renovation period. Just not just tile.
How do we choose?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Small problem or big problem? Fixable or?
Well, I'm sure the framing is probably one of the ones that drives you nuts.
Yeah.
For me personally, one of the most difficult, frustrating parts of the process is working with the subtrades. That's what I find extremely frustrating.
Yeah, definitely, that's probably the biggest.
Because when we first got into this, I hadn't basically devised a checklist of things that I needed to go back to. Like, I basically thought that, let's say, that the plumber would come in and that they would do all their work, and I didn't have to double check everything, right? So when they would install just like the mixing valve, or when they would be, any work that they would do, I never checked to make sure that everything was level, right? And I discovered very quickly that they just throw it in, they don't check anything, right? And that was extremely frustrating for me, having to babysit subtrades to make sure they did their work properly. But that's my frustration.
That's gonna be a reoccurring problem, and that's just gonna be a matter of finding the right one.
Yeah.
Like for my plumber, for example, I'm fortunate enough where I've worked with him at my old job. So I've been working with him for going on 5 years now, and he knows I like a laser. He knows I like it plumb, level, square. Sometimes I'll mark on the wall, and he knows that if it interferes in my tile, he's going to give me a call, ask me a question. If I do something that's going to interfere with this plumbing, I call and ask him a question, so that communication's there. But like I've worked with one other plumber, which he does great work, but like I said, that communication does great work, but it's not great with your work.
Yeah.
So then you gotta readjust it when you shouldn't have had to readjust it. It's just,
we work on the road regularly also. So sometimes we're in different cities and we're having to use new subtrades. And a lot of these guys, they'll come in on our project. We'll tell them what we want done. And if we're working in, let's say, a small bathroom, then there's two guys there, and they kind of like look at us like, are you guys going to leave so we can have the space to ourselves? Well, the answer is no, right? Like, I'll stand there and make sure they do their job properly, because it's just, again, it's a reoccurring issue. So yeah, when we're closer to home, we've built a good network of subtrades. So like that's a different story. But on the road, that's been a really frustrating part.
That's pretty simple, because you tell them what you want up front, and if they don't level it and it's screwed up, well, it's like, well, then your check's gonna get screwed up. Like, you screw up my work, I'm gonna screw up. You screw up on your end, I'm gonna screw up on my end. That's how it is. Yeah. And I'm real quick to be that person. I'll pay you your deposit, right? But if you come in, I was like, I'm not gonna pay you until you fix that. Like, it's just, at the end of the day, that's just what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you don't want to have to do that, and it kind of, in some cases, it can cause that relationship to have issues. But at the end of the day, as long as you set that expectation and that standard, like all my subs that I work with now understand, or if something's messed up, like, I'm going to make them come back and fix it, even if I know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's about taking pride in what you do, right?
Yeah.
And it's important.
Now, do you guys find that having that pride in the OCDs will makes you stand out from all the other contractors?
Yeah, I think so. I think already we've started to locally stand out because of that philosophy. So for what we lack in knowledge and experience, I think that
The attention to
having that
details.
philosophy
It
is huge.
It is. And the
Right.
reality is, for our lack of expertise at this point, that's only going to be for so long, right? So as soon as that catches up with how we run our business, and it's actually it's nice being husband and wife. That's people respond well to it. Because they know that, like, I think they know that I can't get away with anything, and vice versa, right? Because we have a good dynamic with one another, and it's
Right.
and we hold each other accountable, right? So that's if I do something where I'm taking a shortcut, even though I might not think of it as being a shortcut, she'll call me out on it, and vice versa. So yeah.
Yeah, and girls are very attentive to details, so you really
Yes.
can't hide anything.
And they forget nothing. Nothing.
Oh yeah, no.
Also,
Well,
right?
it depends. If you're having like you're supposed to go out with the boys, she'll forget, but she'll tell you what you did back in '97.
So this is another thing too, and I'm curious. And this is actually something I looked into even over research. Is who does more of the communication with the customer? Would you say, or who gets better response from the customer?
We have such complementary skill
Mhm.
sets. So I'd say it's equal, but I do like all of the admin and the quoting and the just customer support. But then Jason is a natural salesperson, which I don't have the sales bone. So yeah, you kind of like you upsell and you talk, design, and then I'm like sort of day-to-day logistics and customer support that way.
So he sells the job, you slap the bill on the table. Got it.
Basically, it's just like our home life, Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's where I
a
was kind of coming back to it, because it's like it's kind of been supported. Unless you're like really, really well communicated with the customer, people are more receptive, especially when it comes to like a sticker shock price, and with receptionists too. Because even my last W2 did the same thing. They'd have exclusively women up front talking with the customer, and had to do with, I guess, being less intimidating. Like as far as like, I don't know, it's kind of weird to bring that up, because I'm not trying to be like condescending about it, but it's just like people are more receptive when a woman's able to communicate with you, which I don't really see that. I'm cut and dry either way.
If you had to choose between her or your bearded face, I mean, they would definitely like.
Well, yes,
there'd be a lot nicer to her instead of
she's
that
a lot
guy.
easier on the eyes than
yeah.
So yeah,
we take
it's gonna cost 20
together. So we kind of capitalize on this volley between each other.
Yeah.
So it really works that way, because he has the male energy and I have the female energy, and it kind of like balances that way. So especially if we're speaking to like a husband and wife duo, so
yeah,
it really works that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it
let me also ask
I guess
you
the
this.
dynamic works. You guys are a couple. I guess it would make a customer feel a little bit more like at home if that's it. Instead of just a random guy that shows up, slaps the tools on the table, says $20K, let's go.
And I feel like that dynamic can go both ways, because on the sales side, everybody here knows if you want to do a markup or a sale or something that's going to be a change order, who do you talk to, right? You go, you go like, hey, so a ladies ledge, right? Hear me out. Light in needs, right? You immediately talk to the wife, right? And she's like, oh yeah, it's a good idea. Write him a check. Put another 0 on that.
You know what? What's really important at the beginning of building a relationship with someone is figuring out who the decision maker is, right?
Oh, you usually know how that dynamic goes.
But it varies so much, because like from the beginning of my trades, like I've been self-employed for over 20 years. So I've basically been writing my own paychecks for over 2 decades, right? And it's extremely important to discover that early on, who the decision maker is. Sometimes it's both parties, but more often than not, it's one. And then you learn to read the room, you learn to read the person you're selling to. So when you are talking about upselling, you learn how to navigate those waters, right?
Yeah.
So it's sink or swim, right? And you have to find those ways to make sure that you can put food on your table. So
It's hard to like have to break the news, especially with, again, renovations. Uh, I always overestimate my time. I always, when I give a quote, it's always higher, and they're like, "Oh, why is it so much?" I'm like, "Well, we can go about it two ways. I can give you an exact quote, and then I'll change order you to death, or
yeah,
I overestimate and I don't have to worry about it."
yeah,
And also with the time, I don't want to tell you 2 weeks and it's been 4 because the subfloor was rotted and the plumbing was all jacked up.
yeah, yeah.
So I explained that, I guess, and it's made things a lot easier because they're like, "Oh, I see why it's like that." Because
Under
there's a
promise, over deliver, right?
exactly, like
Yeah,
a lot of people are like, "Oh, 2 weeks bathrooms." That's what they sell on Facebook in my area. 2 week bathrooms. We can do it in 2 weeks.
but
I'm
your
like,
subfloor is right, and your
yeah,
plumbing needed to get done. Oh,
yeah.
and
So
your drywall. We had, that was the bathroom, right? We got to do the
and
drywall.
plus,
The
like,
bathroom
it's
starts after the
yeah,
drywall.
like pulling a change order. It's like, I'm basically, quote unquote, pulling money out of their pockets, if you will.
right.
Especially
Yeah,
for minor stuff too. Like if you're
Yeah.
talking like a $15 valve and like replacing it, like the stop valves, if you're like you're nickel and diming them to death, and then they're gonna feel that. They're gonna feel like that you're just
yeah,
trying to penny them into, a couple $100 versus if you just charge them that up front. You're like, yeah, we had to replace your stop valves, but don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm
Let's
so
throw in
glad
some
to hear you
freebies.
say that, because we just encountered a scenario like this a few months ago, and um, like, yeah, it's taking way longer, and the costs are growing, and everybody's getting uncomfortable. And it just would have been safer if you quoted on the higher end, but we were in a position where we couldn't afford to lose the job, right? And didn't want to
Yeah.
overprice it. But what you're saying is like that's a way safer,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
just a
it's
way more candid way to approach it.
right. I mean, and also from obviously doing bids and stuff, how many times you found out that you underbid yourself because you double guess yourself?
but
Because
that
you look
mainly
at it.
that comes at this point because we're working more in a new trade. With our previous trades, like I could walk into something and I can quote it like that. Like I know exactly what it is. And I can eyeball the situation and I know everything. Now, just at this point, because we're still newer at this, we're second guessing ourselves a lot, and we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's second guessing yourself and COVID, two things that change the world. Because you're always thinking it's like, oh my god, it's a lot of money. It's like we wouldn't pay for that. And then you kind of like you realize that you're like, oh, it's going to be this much. You're like, okay, so when do you start? And the whole time you spend like an entire day sweating over this
Yeah, yeah.
bid
You
that you're
already
trying to
shaved off
send.
5 to 6 grand, bringing yourself
Right.
down.
So
Mhm.
that's, I guess that's my method. Me and Jeremiah have shared, and like it's better to, like you said, over promise, and you come in and you're like, hey, you know what? As a matter of fact, we were able to do it for this much little less,
Yep.
and it's almost like a bonus, if you will. Like, oh, we don't
Mhm.
have to charge you, like, or like I found out one of my customers, I didn't know he was a Marine. I was like, okay, so I quoted it to a point where I knew I was going to have extra. So now it's just like, I'm not going to charge you for the change orders. I
Hmm.
gave you I gave you a new floor. I did some plumbing and just forget about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to do that. But the second guessing part was another issue that we encounter, which is like you sit there and you're looking at the quote and you're overlooking and you're doing research online. You're asking people around. You go through the whole spiel like, how much should this be?
Yeah.
And then never
But
ask that question online.
sometimes like I like to kind of cut through a lot of that too, and be candid with people and ask them, like, be straightforward and ask them, what's the budget you're working with, right?
See,
And some people think that's bold and not a good way to
yeah.
start the conversation. But at the same time, you're it's like cutting out the middleman, right? It's if you've got a good rapport built with the person right off the bat, there's nothing wrong with asking that question. Like you're not doing a disservice to yourself or to that potential client,
Because
right?
then you
Right.
know which way to sort of move from there.
Well,
Right.
Yeah. See, and I'm running into like immediately when you say what's your budget, right? And if you got let's say a $20,000 bathroom and their budget's 30 grand, they think if they tell you 30 grand, it's somehow going to end up being 30 grand. And
right.
the way I've tried to approach it is like, hey, what's the budget we're working with? Just because, I have a preferred system that I like to use, but there are other systems and material that will also meet that standard. which is kind of a double-edged sword. Either they're like, oh yeah, so this is the budget, we want to go with the standard system, or they're going to go, oh, there's a cheaper option. And
but that comes back to, like I said, a really, really important part of sales is know your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Get an idea of who you're dealing with when you start that conversation, and determine whether or not they're worth presenting that upsell option of a different shower system. Because if look around you, look at their house, look at what they've got, right? And then make that determination for yourself, and decide whether or not that's actually if you want to go that direction. Right, but
it comes down to where people place value.
Right, 100%.
Right.
I'll pop them with the price range, right? And if we're in the price range, but they're like, their budget is the lower end of the price range, that's when I kind of pop that question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I approach it a different method. I always ask. I'm like, listen, are we working with a budget here? Is it a must-have? Are we just like, just get me this? Well, I mean, what are we doing this? Because unfortunately, due to COVID, a lot of people are still used to the pre-COVID prices of everything, which I understand, because even I have sometimes culture shock when I have trades come into my house and do the work because I can't get to it.
$1,300 fixture.
This is like $1,300 a fixture, stuff like that. So I always approach it in that sense. I'm like, hey, is there a budget? So that way we know your expectations versus mine, because I had a customer that wanted a full bathroom renovation for $5,000 because she thought in her mind that was the expectation. Yeah. And I was like, I can buy your material for $5,000, and then we'll talk about the rest afterwards.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, right.
That was my method of approaching. I always ask the budget. I'm like, are we working with a budget, or is this one of those like, I need this done, get it done?
Yeah.
And also, that also determines, like, are we going to use high-end tile? Are we going to use middle-level tile or box store tile? Do you want the Cadillac of faucets, a Growy, or something that, it's ridiculously expensive, or standard Moen will do?
Yeah.
Hey,
calm down.
That's the Honda. That's the Honda Civic of plumbing. Okay, leave it alone.
Hey, listen. He's a Delta guy. All right, they're on par with each other.
I'm a Delta guy, but they're the same systems. But that's a good thing. I mean, a lot of people are afraid to ask that question, I find.
I don't.
I don't know why.
I don't think that there should be anything off the table when you're talking the sales aspect of things too, right? Yeah. Like it's you should be very candid. And I'm always also very, very candid with people whenever I meet a potential client, and telling them and making sure they understand that we're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing us, right? Because at the end of the day, there's no renovation that's not, it's disruptive, right? You're in someone's house, you're in their personal space, you're disrupting a lot of things. It's stressful for people, right? So you have to have a pretty good feeling about the person you're going to invite into your house to create chaos. And so I'm always very, very candid with that, because if I think for 2 seconds that client is going to be a potential nightmare for me, I won't even bother taking that conversation any further, right? So, and I think a lot of it has to do with, like, you have to be extremely confident in yourself and your business and what you're bringing to the table, and it goes from there, right?
Yeah, what I do is I just make my accent a little thicker. Yeah, we're gonna knock down that wall.
Yeah, I like that.
They're like, yeah, no, we don't want him in the house. That's gonna be about another $150.
So yeah, I mean, like, I know with you guys just starting in there, and that's what I say, like, learning that the thing that I had to learn, I'll speak for myself, is not everybody's my customer. That was kind of hard to 100%. Learn that one, because you're like 100%. Trying to get your business off the ground, you're trying to dig in, and then you start taking these jobs that you're like, you know what, I just want to stop. Like, I can definitely get a regular job, live a normal life like everybody else does. Sure. Not have to have dreams about tile and
or nightmares.
Or when you walk into a restaurant, the first thing you do is start judging all the tile and how it's been laid out. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys do it too now. When you walk in,
it's starting.
You'll find you like scratching the grout. Like,
at the end of the day, the best advice I could give anyone is, like, just trust yourself, right? And like you said, not every customer is your customer, right? And we all want to get every job that we're bidding on at the end of the day, because, like I said, we all want to keep a roof over our heads and feed our families. But you have to have enough faith in yourself to realize that if you hold by your standards, that, like, everything you'll work it out, right? It'll all work out in the wash at the end. So
right. Yeah, I mean, and then how booked out you guys right now?
What's that?
Booked out? How booked out are you?
August.
Yeah, August.
Damn.
Which for
I
us
need
is
to-
good.
Yeah.
I need to move up there. Jesus Christ.
But we also, again, we do multi-trade stuff too, right? So, if like we just submitted a quote for a drywall job, right? So like we still, like it's important for us to keep our skills sharp for multi-trades. That's what we do to offset if we have any downtime. Plus we also like, the way we set up our lives is we don't need to work full time. So, I mean, that's part of the reason we live out here is we want to enjoy nature and we want to travel and things like that too, right? So that's
yeah, you guys are way better than us. We're still chasing our tails.
Well, yeah, I've done enough of that in my life too. Right?
Oh Jesus, I'm
43.
I'm telling you,
Honestly,
still young.
I thought you would have been much younger than that. 43.
What's that?
He gets that all
You
the
look
time.
you
I
look
would have thought
younger.
you were younger.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I have a 20-year-old kid, eh?
You have a
Jesus
20-year-old
Christ,
kid?
really?
I'm
Yeah, I have a
22,
20-year-old
dude.
kid, yeah.
He's
I am
22.
22.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Well, there you go.
Damn.
I got a couple miles on me one way or another.
You are
right?
old. No, I'm kidding. No.
It's like, never mind, you're old now. So don't worry. Tile will speed up that process very fast for you.
I'm sure.
As you notice.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. Somebody's calling. Yeah, the knees. Get pro knees. Get good knee pads. Don't. Oh, they're gonna hear us.
Audio testing 1 2.
It's because of
we can't hear them.
if somebody's calling you, that cuts the mic.
Oh,
Oop.
look what you did, Omar. You scared him.
Damn it. Did it say pineapple?
Well,
hopefully our our guest come back and damn, we're wearing the same hat.
oh yeah, we are. It's a nice hat though.
There we go.
Yes, audio's back.
All right.
So obviously we don't want to keep you guys here forever because we'll ramble for years on end.
Yeah, well, we'll do the same thing.
It's been an hour 40 minutes.
I can
this
see
is
that.
the problem. It's a problem with our podcast. We're like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And originally it was supposed to be 45 minutes.
Right.
It has never reached that limit.
Yeah.
An hour was a more realistic compromise.
Under promise, over deliver, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
To be our motto. Yeah. So that's so. Before you guys leave, definitely let us know all your handles, where we can find you, and where people can find you. Actually, so
yeah. So at Level5Finishing, that's all we've got going on Instagram right now.
So mainly Instagram, no website, no Facebook.
No, really, like I said, we're really honestly new to the whole social media world. So yeah, that's it for now.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming on. It was great talking to you. We're gonna have to talk to you again for sure because we got about 48 more hours worth of talking to do.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So
we're learning a lot too. So, but definitely thank you for coming and just hang on while we finish this off.
Yeah, thanks, guys.